Also going, oh, they tell you. That's a new feature. That's good. I'm glad that's now on the recording. But welcome everybody. So glad to be here this Thursday with this moody weather. I am co-curator Lisa Marie Brimmer, and I co-curate the Queer Voices reading series along with Sherrie Fernandez Williams. And we're so glad to be here today. This event is a co-production of Hennepin County Library and Quatrefoil Library, and made possible by the Minnesota's Clean Water, Land, and Legacy Amendment Funding and the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. As a quick tech note, I will invite folks to keep their, to just stay muted throughout here. As well, you're welcome to either have your videos on or off. We're going to do our best to pin the readers when they're speaking, so that should help you, I guess, track who's speaking. And, but you're welcome and invited, very much invited, to share love and praise and hellos in the chat. So feel free to be social. I know that often this time of year is when we get to see our family, chosen or not. And so it's really good that we get to see each other, and small talk is such an important part of our community's vitality and health. So I say that, and I'd also want to offer you an invitation again to just, this is something that we say in our writing circles that we have, is just get a little bit more comfortable. So whether it's just getting a little bit more comfortable in your chair or getting a little bit more comfortable in the room that you're in, however it is that you can take care of yourself and your body in this moment, whether you're finding some tea, some water, or another pillow. We have quite a few sort of welcoming messages and addresses that we'd like to share with you this fine evening. So I just want to let you know you have a little time here before the reading really gets started. So welcome. I want to invite Hennepin County Library just to share a few words.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Amanda Green. I work at Augsburg Park Library, which is a branch of the Hennepin County Library System. And on behalf of the library, I'd just like to welcome you all. We're so happy to have you here for this presentation of Queer Voices. Before we get started, I'd like to highlight a few upcoming library events that you may be interested in. We will have a booth at Twin Cities Pride Festival, which will be July 17th and 18th in Loring Park. So if you're at that event, please stop by to say hi and grab some library swag. On Wednesday, June 23rd at 7 o'clock, the library's Vinyl Revival series will feature glam rocker and Queer Voices alum, Venus DeMars. There will be discussion of her 20 plus years as a trans artist in the local music scene, plus time to enjoy songs picked from her favorite records in the library's vinyl collection. You do need to register for that event. I'll put a link for the library's Pride webpage in the chat, where you can find the link for the registration, plus information about more upcoming Pride events with the library. And one last thing, if you enjoy this program and you'd like to see the library continue doing more programs like it, please let us know. Write a comment in the chat today or pop by our booth at Pride and tell us what you'd like to see us do for queer programming in the future. The more we hear from you, the better we can advocate for resources to be dedicated to wonderful programming like this. So I'll turn things back over to Lisa and Sherrie. Thank you all again for coming.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda. Claude, you're in the house. Can you come on and share a little bit from Quatrefoil Library?
Of course. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Sherrie. Thank you, Amanda. Hey, I'm Claude Peck. I'm president of the board at Quatrefoil Library. And on behalf of the rest of the board and all of our volunteers, a big welcome for all of tonight's readers and for the curators and for our partners. We do have a couple of bits of news about Quatrefoil that I'll mention very fast. The big one is we have reopened after being closed for 14 months because of COVID. Right now, we're only open on Saturdays from noon till 5, but we will soon be expanding our hours to include Sunday afternoons and then weeknights as were our hours before COVID. So come in, and a good reason to come in now is we have changed our membership policy. After 35 years of being a paid membership library, we are now a free membership library. And so if you come in and fill out your Q card application, you will be issued a Q card, and that will enable you to borrow more than 16,000 books from among more than 16,000 books, and from more than 5,000 DVDs, and also to hang out at the library. And as usual, our events are free. And we do hope to return to some in-person events before too long. And then just like Amanda said, the library is going to be at Pride. We also will be doing our used book sale in the Pride Festival, July 17th and 18th. It's a great way to get some cheap books and improve your library. And also we will be talking to you at that time about free membership as well. I think that's about what I can think of right now. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy this reading. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we like to be
one other quick thing. I'll put in the chat our web address and come to our Facebook page to register for any Zoom events. That we have one tomorrow night that's going to be really good. So look for it.
Thank you, Claude. So we like to begin by acknowledging that we join you from Minnesota Makoche, the land of the Dakota people, land that is called Kabakang by the Ojibwe peoples. We thank the Dakota and Ojibwe people and their relatives for their care of the lands, the waters of the so-called Mississippi River, the Makaska, and the chain of lakes, and especially the sacred Batote. We recognize the continuing celebrations and challenges connected to the charged battles surrounding the vast and beautiful waters of this area. We acknowledge the existing and ongoing presence of Native and Indigenous communities, and we pay our respects to them and their cultures and to elders, both past and present. We acknowledge and pay our respects to the cedar tree, the skullcap medicine, the soft and comforting mullein plants in this time of transition. Lisa.
Lisa, you're muted.
I thought I was smooth because I found the replace pin button. So sorry, everyone. Mercury still in retrograde. It's true. What I was saying was that Queer Voices started as a reading series more than 15 years ago. And for that reason, it is the longest running reading series. The longest running LGBTQIA plus reading series in the country. The original curators, John Medeiros and Andrea Jenkins, organized and hosted readings featuring queer writers throughout the year and held a celebratory reading during Pride Month each year. And we're so excited to continue that tradition this year. Last year was rocky. We did not make that happen. And we're so glad again to be back here in 2021. So much congratulations and thank yous are really needed to go out here to John Medeiros and Andrea Jenkins for all of their hard work those years past, and all of their beautiful work that's still coming forward from them in terms of writing and poetry and literature, especially. Their work has just been such a beautiful staple in our powerful local LGBTQIA plus community. As a part of our changing ecosystem in the Twin Cities, Queer Voices.
Turned it off, I thought.
I don't know who needs to mute, but if you can mute, that would be really helpful for our readers. That will get started here shortly. Thank you. Yeah, the Twin Cities has been changing a lot, as we know, that we are here or have lived here. And as things have taken on new shape, Queer Voices has moved on. So much thanks goes to Quatrefoil and Hennepin County Libraries for helping make that happen. In the spring of this year, we started doing what we are calling writing circles, which really help us focus on the writing process, and have invited folks to come together to share community and writing prompts over the last few years, or the last few months. And the folks reading today have been such a large part of that. We offer our gratitude for their showing up either one time or many times. It's been so beautiful to share space together. If you want more information on the history of the Queer Voices reading series, I'm gonna drop a book link in the chat. We have some readers that are in the house here that were celebrated in this beautiful anthology that came out from Minnesota Historical Society Press in 2019 on the 50th anniversary of the Pride uprisings and riots. And with that, we want to acknowledge that the first Pride was an uprising, was a riot. And as we maybe find ourselves in a moment that has us feeling a great distance from what true trans and queer liberation looks like, you know, we're coming together in this moment to hold space with each other and hold community. And we have come a great distance in the past 50 years, but we know that that distance is not enough. We need access to healthcare. We need access to safer spaces here and globally for our people, both from physical violence and from narrative violence and from all the other kinds of violences that we experience on a daily basis. And so with that, we offer gratitude to Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera and all of those that have gone before us, all of the freedom fighters and trans and LGBTQIA visionaries that have brought us to this moment. So I just wanted to offer that acknowledgement as well, and I'll pass it back to Sherrie.
Okay. Thank you for the acknowledgement, Lisa. And as in the tradition of Andrea and John, when they were the co-curators of the series, they always read a little bit of their work before going into the featured readers. And we're going to try to continue with that tradition. And Lisa will be sharing a little bit of their work. Lisa Marie Brimmer is a writer and educator born on Ho Chunk, Sauk, Miami, Meskwaki land. Their work has appeared in the Public Art Review, Gasher Journal, and multiple anthologies with poems forthcoming in BK and Concision Poetry Journal. Brimmer is a recently committed MFA candidate at Randolph College, living on Dakota land in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Can we give it up for Lisa?
Thanks. Appreciate it, y'all. I'm happy to be the sacrificial lamb. I don't remember what I think that's what they used to call it at slams back in the day. I don't even remember. That's apparently how long it's been since I've been to a slam. Oh, it's not good. Yeah, today I'm so honored to be here and to share a poem. In my bio, it mentions that I have a poem forthcoming from Concision Journal. It's now out. The journal is now out. And so I'll be reading from Concision Poetry Journal a poem called B-Team. It feels important to presence that this poem, it's doing a lot of thinking, but I'm especially thinking about how we don't always think about what we're holding up or what we've been holding up when we're living in it and when we're young, especially. So oftentimes maybe other people feel this way. You get reflective and nostalgic and you're thinking about stuff and maybe you're trying to undo some childhood trauma or whatever it is. And you have these aha moments. And I think this poem was that for me. It started a simple poem about playing on the B team in basketball and it ended up somewhere else. So B team, tip off, no ankle tape needed. An opus of layups, grins dripping of all-stars, a family outing, quick drill caught on tape, on trophy watch, the scout, the break, floating Hanes tees, rolled sleeves, near Nina in 98, each body a scuffle of sweat, a signature, grape Gatorade stained teeth, salty leather, bounce pass to bounce past, behind the back, wrinkled cotton, cheap gods, jog backwards, bob, mesh covered cross, metal slapping glass, ribbons, masking, beaded braids, thrum necks, a bulging jersey scrim, a game hiding in ritual material, hunt down the video, blockbuster origin, the bubbler, how it all quickly turns. We can kill you from we can have this. You can't. Mine. We can member you apart. Benched, browsing, scavenged, East Bay catalogs, finally subbed after a late scoring game. Fake passes opined on the pine, veins opened across the grain. But the bullets don't carry, they make better guards. I could only defend, not feed the mill. My squeezy bottle and hardly a fingernail engraving to prove I'm here. For jokes and a Whopper Jr., vigilant, varsity blues, sweat, shared in headphones, Joe's I Wanna Know, quality skip protection, back row dodge, floor show love, a soft sunset, pink, rewound winter, our bodies technical follows, our bodies technical fouls, enclosed dungeons, out of bounds, each child a free throw, shaking a fragile net. Let it out, here, let it out. Around the world is one big jump stop. A tear in the clinic, in the field, sutures, make your thatched metal bands secure glass. Every rib, a partition, a time out. One, what old high school isn't a prison clock ticking? Good game, good game. Did you see that exposed rib? Thank you. Excuse me, I have to introduce, thank you everybody. And now I get the pleasure of introducing Sherrie Fernandez Williams, the author of Soft, a memoir, and a recipient of the Minnesota State Arts Board grant, a Beyond the Pure Fellowship, and currently a Jerome Hill Artist Fellow. She's published poems and essays in anthologies and literary journals, including New Limestone Review, Aquifer, the Florida Review, and the Minnesota Review, among others. Welcome, Sherrie.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be in this space with all of you. Thank you so much for being with us today and holding space with us. I'm going to read a short poem called May the Circle. I'm currently in Tampa, Florida. I'm doing research on family history, and I am obsessed with my great-grandmother at the moment. I have been connecting more and more with the goddesses and my ancestors. So this is called May the Circle. We came to mist freshened earth, to dig in and plant toes until they are fully rooted, to swallow disorienting carbon, then respire like Jesus saves and the devil lies, and to rebuke him like the grandmothers learned from their grandmothers in the name of Oshun, the youngest of the saints, and the name of the grown-up baby girls wanting to recall the day before this pissy punk carved his name onto their frontal lobe, along with other recollections, his weight, for example, his hand on her mouth, his laughter, her struggle, to flourish beyond that day, that one small room, to become an active citizen with an enriched mind, and one day, a sharer of insights, a woman happy to make love when that is what she desires, a decision maker, a mother, maybe someday, and maybe someday a grandmother herself, then an ancestor willing to return when might is needed because she will be the general. June Jordan said, I'm Black and alive and looking back at you. In the name of our prophets, we're all Black and alive and looking back at you. Puking may endure for a night, but sobriety comes when a root woman looks you dead in the eyes, boy. Our mothers who art in heaven, who will save this motherfucker when he wakes in his own vomit and it is his turn to be muted. In the morning, no wind will split these thick ass trunks. Branch lock to branch, a multiplying assembly, goddesses descending, forests closing in. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sherrie.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Our next poet is Donte Collins. Donte Collins is held, Black, adopted, queer, a surrealist blues poet haunted by the 1960 Black arts movement. Their work seeks to love their people, to add to the garden. They believe poems are portals allowing us to exercise awe, gratitude, and grief. They believe poems allow us to wander back to ourselves, to meet ourselves anew. And we welcome you, Donte.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for welcoming my voice into the space. I'm like in my body. I'm trying to like give you guys all the energy that I can. I can't wait till we can have live readings again. But this is gorgeous. This will do, and I'm honored to be here. Yeah, I am not the best at dancer, so I think I'll just like hop into the poems if that's okay. I'm gonna read a few poems from this choreo poem that I've been working on for the last 2 years. It's largely a memory project, an archival project dealing with adoption, migration, reactive attachment disorder, and it, yeah, the poems hint to those things. I'm gonna set my timer quickly. Yeah, and I think, yeah, I'll begin with a love poem and end with a love poem. Go. Prayer severing the cycle for Tamika. My love is as ancient as my blood. And of course, my blood is still mine because a woman sweetened black with good song pulled me from the river like an axe pulled back from the bark. I learned love first as scar. And of course, my love is only mine because I found the nerve to say it is. Ha. My love is mine, but was first my mother's. Not the how, but the why. But was first her mother's, not the how, but the why, not the how. How do you love? Not the how. How are you loving? Not the how, not the how, not the how of it. I am bored with this beat. I seek a different dance toward death. Lord, listen up, lean in. I crave a love that happens as sweetly as it was named. If love must be swung, let it soften, let it soften, let it soften, not split. This next poem is called Rehearsal. I was adopted into a family of tap dancers, and my mother turned our basement into a dance studio. And yeah, this is about growing up in that space, witnessing that space, my siblings rehearsing and wanting to join, but being too young. Yeah, my family's history with tap dance, you know, as a cultural phenomenon at a time when sort of all of the dance institutions are run by white folks, and my mom, you know, spearheading her own company, but also as a kind of atavistic blood bond between me and my siblings. Yeah, rehearsal. The flap is done with the tip of the shoe. The ball tap, the toe is sudden, soft, swing the foot forward to brush, then flick, is careful though deliberate, quick, should mimic the keen click of a pin. Would it be a ball change if you shift the weight, though this sound requires surgery, an incision in the silence, the ear permitting the ankle sharp sweep, a release, control, breath, release, she says. My mother, stopping the music to adjust Tamika's arms, Carl's shoulders. Taisha's laces are undone but doesn't dare look down. My mother, a drill sergeant of sound, hears hesitation, an unsure shuffle, a skipped beat. Again she shouts, don't cheat. Tap is as much about intention as it is integrity. Is as much about the ground as it is about gravity, to be both bird and boulder, to sink then soar in seconds. The body, a decibel bracketing the quiet. The body, birthing vibration. Aluminum against oak wood, earth grinding earth. And my mother conducting a meticulous stampede, she patterns popping oil, right? Says cadence is clinical, each step sterile, cleaned, cleaned, my siblings now sweating in sync, eyes forward, facing the mirrors, the basement air thin with heat, again her voice, cutting through percussion, rattles but the mirrors return, her tongue, metal in her mouth, the whole house buckling on beat, pulsing through copper pipes, so how could she really expect me to fall asleep? Me, 8 and eager, up past midnight, all thud and twirl and overthinking, rancid with mismatched rhythm, an almost meter. My bedroom, a cluttered auditorium. I perform for no one, barefoot but promised my shoes next summer. Then I can dance downstairs, look and listen. I can make thunder too, I think, while pressing my ear to the floor. Let's see. Okay. This poem, it's called They Need Some of Us to Die. It was written after I got off the phone with my family, and a few of my siblings had to quit their jobs at the beginning of COVID because there was no protocol. I'll let the poem speak for itself. It's a poem that I don't usually share, but they need some of us to die for Uncle Paul and them. It seems also important to say that this poem is written in my uncle's voice. Hell no, over my dead. I paid mine. I checked black, and subtraction knows what it did. Made black a box to check. Subtraction doesn't know how even a sigh seasons the roux. In the second breath, my mother was always trying to catch. American, emergency. Subtraction doesn't know Black's many bodies and bodies of water, though subtraction does, sunken, gifting the sea's new strange stones. Subtraction reopened the barbershops and bowling alleys, insists church, sent us home with inhalers and half-assed sentences. In God, we, the people versus degradation versus a new packaged deliverance. Homicide, hallelujah. I'll be damned. I'll be back before I'll be buried. I've been black and ain't slept since. Subtraction needs my blood to water their weapons to subtract my blood. Do you see the necessity for dreaming? Or else the need to stay awake, to watch, worried, the hand, invisible, make a peace sign, then a pistol. I'm gonna check the time just quick. Okay, 3 minutes. I'll do this poem. It's, when it's in conversation with, anything that encourages us to make any part of our identity a fixed location so that the identity can then be commodified. I wanted to resist that. And this poem sort of operates as a definition, but it's still a poem that I'm understanding. I had fun writing it. Here's a poem. Black as chrysalis, an iridescent dark, The word itself is shell-shifted each time I speak it. It's sudden syrup, a sweet, dark seed inside a casing salted by the sea. And of course, the seed is a seed, one my mother pushes softly in the damp June soil to grow what will soon be my job to pick, right? My hands mine, but also hers and her mother's, hands handed down, obligated to the garden, meaning to water, to watch, to wait, for her children to arrive as alive as they left, and we did, wild and wistful, saplings spinning in the summer heat, wearing our mother's worry, an American machine of baton and Bible, and we did stay close because we knew our mothers knew something we didn't. A bullet is a seed in America's garden. Watch a Black body bloom. No, we conjured our own country, planted peas, red cabbage, and collards, planted tomatoes and basil and summer squash, parsley, peppers, and mint, kneeling beside my siblings. We gave each seed our names, a ritual of resistance, Black as soil, as the sun's quiet labor. I'm saying moms made sure we ate good, grew good, and became full on a future we could touch. Okay, I have like 1 minute, and I want to read this. This duplex. It's for my mother, and I'll end with this poem. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to read and witness poems with you all. And yeah, I want to come to one of the workshops, so I will be in touch, or one of the writing circles. Sorry. It's called Duplex Dendrology. Dendrology is the study of trees. I'm trying to say something about her blood. Mom revered rain, said fresh water, fertile mud. God revised the rain, said fresh water, fresh mud. Ty said, yeah, mom couldn't have kids, you ain't know. She couldn't carry, mom couldn't, you ain't know. In autumn, the water iced and hugged the roots, plucked the dead and repot to revive the root. If the children come with children, you make room. Some were adopted in their hospital rooms. Tamika's birth mom was my mother's child too. I forgot my mother was a child once too. Maybe her hair silly with the scent of fall. It's true, the earth catches each leaf that falls. It's true, the earth catches each leaf that falls. It's true, the earth catches each leaf that falls. I'm trying to say something about her blood. Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Donte. Okay, so our next reader for tonight. After completing her MFA in creative nonfiction from the University of Minnesota, Carla-Elaine Johnson has enjoyed exploring all aspects of her queerness through poetry. Poetry reminds her of the tangible and intangible parts of herself that she seeks to gather and celebrate. Her poetry celebrates the intersections of life as a queer Black woman, seeking to uncover her place in the world. Welcome, Carla-Elaine.
Thank you. This is great and far different. I think I read for this like years ago. I don't even remember what I read at the time, but things have changed a great deal. So these are all about various things with identity, and I try to keep them as current as I can. So the first one is about, well, you'll see. I do not want to be a monster. Brown skin, deemed black, brown eyes, too dark, thick lips pink with ancestral memories gleaming, black hair, my own, yet touched by whiteness as exotic, strange, illusory, in a cultural meme deemed as other, less than, questioning, lack of beauty, even as braids, cornrows are stolen, tokenized, appropriated for being beautiful on white skin that actually ranges from shades of peach, pink, or just light something. Generous hips do not hold like slender human hangers, silk garments fashion prefers. Hips are larger. Are they monstrous because they do not fit the portrait of a lady of womanly shapelessness, unless they are on white skin? Odd. 16th century, Tiziano Ficelli, AKA Titian. Now he reveled in naked or near naked pink and peach forms with luscious rolling bellies and full hips, beauty indicators of childbearing abilities. See, wealth was valued in being a broodmare, in softness, if portrayed in white skin. I do not want to be a monster and more melanated than pink peach, the underlying green teal blue of my blood through my skin, rich cocoa, mahogany, ebony, my ancestors, my people. We are denied the right of acceptance as beautiful. Like the Minotaur, we are regulated to monsters until the beautiful in monsters is needed, desired, fashionable. I do not want to be a monster, an outsider, a fetish darling. Acceptance draws like honey, and even monsters' honey tastes sweet. I reject being a monster, your monster, for the pleasure of your acquisitive mind and a society that reeks of sameness. Some people may remember some of the memories of this next poem. Garden. I didn't know pain at my root until the cut of the blade severed my hair. Crown beauty, dictated by white standard, inter, or is it intra, racial, black standard, perm, or natural? Well, there's the two white, perm, the two black, natural. Hair as a political statement. I'm done either way. Actually, I've done both ways. That first Prussian curl, age 9, forced initiation, you're sitting, your singed ears, lifelong fear of anything hot near my neck and that hot grease. Okay, now hold your ear down. Bushiness, almost like the shave or go natural. And why do the rugs have to match the drapes on my body or on anyone's body? I don't get it. Perfection doesn't require 3 shades of color or waxing unless that's what you want. Skin kissing a blade to return to smoothness like a baby's bottom, well, that we haven't had since hair didn't matter. We fought to groom our garden as we see fit. Fine hair, no hair, arm hits, coarse hair, dark hair, shaved or stubble every 2 weeks. Our garden breathes with each cut. We tell our root. Pay attention. Let's see, what do I have? Oh, okay, good, I got time. This next one is more of a, do I read it, do I not poem? So please bear with me. Yeah, I know it's that one. It's called Divided Identities. Melding. Snow in May falls in my mind when I breathe. I inhale the sunlight and exhale glass shards that divide my consciousness. I want the freedom to be, to write, to choose. Okay, this past life, number 3, or maybe it's number 4. Okay, here it is. Straight woman, mother of 4, alcoholic husband, path not taken. Okay, how about this one? Straight woman, Jewish, translator, failed, then successful academic. Questioning woman, the dick in the vagina, the pussy on my lips, the smile with crocheting lover. Well, was she a friend or was she a future partner? We couldn't figure that one out. Okay, no. Questioning woman, non-admitted bisexual. The non-admitted part is really important. Wandering Jew, inquisitive witch, or just floating among the, well, is it cold wilds of the Northern Plains? A journey in the North Star to find warmth. Okay, another life. Lesbian woman, solid pagan, herbalist, lover of India, Tibetan adoration, atheist partner, queer disassociativeness. Full circle with straight love, religion, dilemma. I know lots of people know this one. So your race is okay, your religion's not okay. Your religion's okay, your career's not okay. Your career's okay, your race is okay, but your religion has to be non-existent. So now, queer woman, proud witch, proud Blackness, proud writer, successful embrace of what lies beneath the covers. The star that harbors the journeys of past lives. Life now present, free at last. Dance, music, sex, romance. And finally, because I want to keep, do I have time for this? Hold on. Yes, I got time. Okay. Hallelujah. Stroke of Lincoln's pen, September 22nd, 1862. Okay, it's about 159 years. Granger announcement, June 19th, 1865. More than 2.5 years in part we waited. Congress ratified, December 6th, 1865. Finally releasing Kentucky and Delaware brethren. Well, Kentucky I could understand, but Delaware? June 19th, 1866, and every year since we celebrate. Red for the blood of our ancestors who toiled, who suffered, who never lost faith. Jubilee Day, Freedom Day, Liberation Day, Emancipation Day. We celebrate our struggles for continued freedom as we lift our voice, every voice, and sing. Stroke of Biden's pen, June 17th, 2021, declaration of a national holiday. Yet even as we celebrate finally, 159 years too late, invisibility remains. Just as Juneteenth arises as a national holiday, Biden reminds us, hate never goes away. It only hides. Truth. Cancel culture now has white supremacists selling Black Lives Matter t-shirts to stay in business. Is nothing our own. Okay, time to check my Black authenticity and drag out the sewing machine. I'm not going to let that go away too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carla-Elaine. Lots of applause and a lot of joy in the chat for all of these wonderful readers that we've heard from so far. We have 3 more readers tonight. Our next is Simi Kang, a Sikh American scholar, artist, educator, and community advocate who engages in Asian American collaborative resistance as a site for imagining environmentally and economically just futures. And so we welcome you, Simi Kang. Welcome, welcome, friend.
Hello, and thank you. I will not be reading poetry. I am trained as a poet and somehow still failed at it. So I'm going to read a piece that I actually, it's a remix of a piece published in the Asian American Literary Review, their special issue on Asian American mental health. And I just dropped the link because it is really absolutely gorgeous. It is not just bound text, but is also a set of tarot cards with archetypes about the Asian American experience and a hacked DSM and so many other incredible things. So I really encourage you all to take a look. But So the piece is called State of Emergency. And I was just thinking about all of the ways that, to kind of call back Donte, we have been made emergency in different ways. So I think I first heard the words emergency declaration in my middle school orchestra room. Mid-morning, an admin's voice strained over the PA, "Teachers, please turn off your TVs." In spite of this, Mr. Moreno hurried over to the corner where an old brown set from the 70s was mounted next to a US flag. He flipped the switch. We watched as the first tower collapsed onto lower Manhattan, then, still not clear what was happening, but understanding that we were bearing witness to something devastating in real time, my music class saw the second plane arc in the air. This is Louis. Gasped as flame enveloped glass, tracked the rain of debris, and more. I didn't know what the Twin Towers were before that day, but within 30 seconds, I knew they were a symbol of our nation, knew they were being terrorized, knew this was an emergency. Without understanding what would follow, it was clear that the sutures binding past to future had been picked clean that day. The first person murdered in response to this terror as body, emergency as state was Balbir Singh Sodhi, a Sikh like my father, his father, and his, and his, and his. Sodhi was taken from us on September 15th, 2001 in Mesa, Arizona. A man whose name I have no interest in repeating drove by Sodhi's gas station and shot him. Shot him for his brownness and his accent and his beard and his turban. Shot him for being the father of brown babies, for looking like a terrorist, for presenting an emergency. I sometimes try to imagine what it was like, a white man firing his handgun 5 times at Sodhi, who was planting flowers along the boulevard of his gas station. How this looked and sounded like so many other murders that have followed, bullets finding rib cage, puncturing cotton, a cacophony before the reverberating, ahistorical silence. Terrorizing a terrorist, that ought to scare him. Brown is terror. Islam became emergency. In the months that followed Sodhi's murder, I watched Sikhs across the diaspora refuse distance between their perceived and practiced faiths. It is not that we are not Muslim. It is that Muslims should not be targeted. It is not that a turban is not a kufiya. It is that none of us deserve to die. An emergency at home, Islam, brownness, beard, head cover, accent. An emergency over there, weapons of mass destruction. Like all good emergencies, this one traveled Atlantic to Gulf, lapping at shores so imprinted with US militarism that many wondered where one war ended and the next began. For the US invasions and occupations of Afghanistan and Iraq to qualify as war, they would have had to then declare it as such. The Bush administration would have said, "We are going to war. We will make war." Under emergency, however, brute force was not just justified, it was demanded. State of emergency is no red tape. Do what a few powerful lawmakers deem necessary in a given moment. State of emergency is no waiting period, only response. State of emergency is war without end. A declaration of emergency says, "Let me tell you who to fear." My family, so many of our families, we were meant to be terrifying, became targets of terror. We still have not escaped the fear. What has changed? In the spring of 2020, 45 invented the China virus, declared COVID an emergency, made East Asians the enemy. Aunties' heads bashed in with bricks, uncles and children harassed and harmed. When Atlanta happened, it seemed like people cared, recognized that Asian Americans, in fact, experienced racism. But many of us know that emergency has been mapped onto our bodies and ancestors for hundreds of years in this country. Asian Americans have always lived with xenophobic storytelling about everything from our features to what we eat, have been called too passive, have been called a threat, since East and Southeast Asian labor was demanded in the US West and Pacific. When a white supremacist FedEx employee murdered his coworkers, many elder Sikhs, I didn't hear much from anyone. Who cares, I guess, when my kin look like at least 3 emergencies: terror, weapons of mass destruction, Asian migration, collapsed one on top of another. The Indianapolis police still haven't conducted a comprehensive investigation. Maybe they figure we're just used to it by now. Precedent is what has gone before is irrefutable truth. Precedent is Islam, brownness, beard, accent, East Asian, elder, mask, all emergency. Precedent is the declaration of a state of emergency produces an emergency. COVID, China virus, East Asians, a global threat, Sikhs, a reliable target. I wonder if policymakers ever think about the families of the dead when they co-sign statements about racism being an emergency too. When my father and I returned to the US for my cousin's wedding in Delhi in 2014, we stood in a security line behind an elderly Sikh who had tied a beautifully patterned handkerchief around his head. I'm sure he, my seatmate for the long flight, a gastroenterologist who told me he began every day with a bowl of bran cereal, was practiced at surviving while sick in the West. When they asked him to remove the handkerchief, which was wrapped so tightly you could see the outline of his hair beneath, he did so quietly. He did not make eye contact with TSA as he deposited the handkerchief in a dense plastic bowl alongside his kara. Maintained dignity in the face of harm. In spite of his compliance, an officer still waved a wand over his head, searching for a bomb in the meager topknot his brilliant white hair could manage. I watched this half-knighting, this poor spell work, in mortified rage. My own hair cut, no cloth to take from me. I was forced only to remove my kara. As it was run through the X-ray machine, I watched them lean in, particularly close. A handkerchief, 2 rings of steel, an emergency. We Sikhs have been made to leave so many of our most important things behind, are stripped of so many of them now. Uncover your head. Show us you aren't hiding something in there. You don't want us to think you're one of the bad guys, right? We will if you don't comply. Compliance is mandatory. Of all the emergencies, I think this is the greatest, that like this so-called nation that calls itself a democracy, emergency works so well to execute an opaque yet crystal clear agenda. It evacuates the landscape of all that stands in its way. It is exhausting, always being in the way. Exhausting witnessing your kin's in the wayness, not knowing how to fix it. And I suppose that's why it's imperative to keep returning the story to sender, to say it together embodied. Who are you to call us an emergency? Thank you.
That was incredible, Simi. Thank you so much for sharing that truth with us. Okay, next we have Kara Olson. Kara Olson's poems have appeared in Waterstone Review and Teo Literary Magazine. Her poem Last Night was selected by Donica Kelly as the winner of the Sewanee's Review 2020 Poetry Contest, and she lives in Minneapolis. Welcome, Kara.
Thanks so much, Sherrie and Lisa, for hosting this and facilitating such just wonderful, wonderful space and rich community. I feel like I'm still just breathing and taking in these last couple of readings because they're just so powerful. I'm going to read a handful of short poems tonight, and I'll just go ahead and get started. I'm also not so good with the banter, so hopefully you can hear me. This is titled The Peony. Did I think of the face of someone I love in the bright greenhouse, the buttery white peony in my hands, my nose in warm breath, small winds in her ears? I did, and I thought of Jane when she wrote Peonies at Dusk, the comfort of her voice, though I've never heard it aloud. Is it you? Are you mine? I spoke to the bloom's buried center. For a moment, I couldn't believe a creature could have known me before I'd arrived here. My hands heavy somehow in contrast to her gentle mane, her sweet lashes. Not that she could have all of me, or I all of her, but that I could look at her and know there was no turning away. What grace brought you here so I might know and imagine the enormity of the unfettered heart? I didn't know her then. I could hardly remember her face. I don't know you yet. I wanted to say more, but I know the feeling of trying all day to lift my head, of love and light so bright I could hardly bear it. This next one is an ekphrastic piece I wrote after visiting the MIA in March. It's by a painting titled An Arrangement of Flowers by Georges Van Os. This pendulous rose, her head so full of cream and pink, she must rest herself on the wooden table, and the dewy yellow crest falling out of the clay vase, not unlike the sensation upon waking this morning when I translated dream. The loose charm of your silk blouse, half buttoned, open just so the bony flesh between your breasts was revealed. Did I want to place my hand there, let you feel me like wind? Yes. You, long-stemmed in a field, dusky wild, each of your worries its own red hip. Why, after all this time, do I want to hold your cry? The blue straw flower taken from her place under the moon, what poured over her at night? Why now the living dream of you? Dusk until dawn, dawn wild, I loved you. I coveted and sucked the same as before any mystery. I confess I conflated you with God for the morning and your silk dress of eternity, for the time you gave, for light so warm we wanted to undress ourselves. This next piece I wrote after reading Elaine Scarry. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. She wrote this text called On Beauty. It's a really dense philosophy text. I'm not sure if I understood it, but it helped me just through profound heartbreak. It was just a really helpful text. So the poem is titled On Beauty. When I see you in the photo, calf deep in ocean water, looking over your shoulder, holding your braid at your neck, my hands ache. I still suffer your beauty. Here, nothing will start or cease to exist. Your dark hair and strong back, serene and grand before a graying afternoon sky. Your waist that faces the horizon like a god. Your warm scent that was part of me hours before, now a secret washed over by salt. I will never see you so quiet and free again. If you come toward me, shells will cut your feet and your desire will fill the world. You will be so beautiful, I will want to wear your black lace swimsuit the next morning. And I will slip inside of you and not leave. In time, you will. What freedom is this? The completion you made? My longing will outlast you, will outlast me. I take a sip of water. A lot of these poems I wrote just this winter, and then there's one old one in the batch. So I'm trying to generate a lot of new material. This is Lady of the Night Orchid. When I fall asleep naked in flannel sheets, my silky legs touching one another, the arch of my foot running along my calf, I know my true name given by you. My heart wrinkled like crushed velvet and open to desire each night is a sorrow like the story of rain. Tell me it's true, that you too are named after that part of you which is most prolific in the dark. I think you must smell us first, must first breathe us into your lungs so we won't fear pressing ourselves to your warm fields at the end of love. I think you must be gentle, the truest expression of yourself as an elephant. No, so loyal and soft-eyed in your coming together, in your mourning. How long will I take on your face, your solid arms and hands with which I know myself? Through your creations, I love myself. I love my fragrance that flowers when starved of water. Last night, Franz Marc's horses were clay figures in my palms. My hands were so full of curves, so full of lonesome blue. Closed in their mouths was the knowledge of licking clean their full. Think of God, the tongue, and what it can do out of love, of velvet once it's between your fingers, their ears tilted, listening, of midnight, their manes. And so it became a prayer, my holding, my thinking. If I speak of the fire at the center of my palms, would you let me touch you with them, my hands? In the dream, my hands rained, they cried from touching creation, from feeling the heat where your heart is. Knowing I had it in me to tear their clay, to undo their breath, the cloud of their bodies, I bent their necks toward their bellies until coming to life, they smelled their own want. This is my last poem for you. I think I don't know what time I'm at. I should keep an eye on the time, but it's a,
Good, you're good.
okay. So the newest one of the batch, and it's titled, well, I should just say, thanks for listening. And it's been such an honor to be here among such talented and esteemed writers, and feel really humbled, so thank you. The Order of Blooming. If you prune the raspberry bush in February, run your finger down its stems and find her legs, the cut of their few-day-old shave, you can rest assured you will never have to look for love again. You can trust the sounds you make when you touch what's green in June. If rain softens your face at the lake, you can belong to its lilac taste. If love or safety at the place you called home, its tongue leaves you or is taken from you, or you must flee it, or you must flee the people who bore you, you can rest assured the cherry trees will blossom before the violet irises, the wild roses before the peonies, and the hollyhocks before the asters. You can rest knowing that each burning core will be a beautiful ear for the thousandfold fervor of your longing. No matter how terrified they are of you, of how you break each other open, heart and hand, solely upon scent, you will thrive at your seat among furred beasts, both kingly and queenly. You can rest assured God seeks you, looks for you, holds sacred office for you in this green month where what's natural is a woman's perennial hunger to be filled by recognition beyond logic. God seeks that eternal part of you, redolent of wet fruit. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Kara, thank you so much for your reading. This has been such a nice night, y'all. I mean, we have gone a lot of places. We have seen a lot of faces. That's all I'll say about that. But we've been dwelling in past lives, in monstrosities and heartache and all this beautiful longing. We've been sexy, we've been scared. But I just want to say we've been a lot of things, but we've been them together. And that's so important right now. We need each other. We need each other. We need each other. Our last writer and reader tonight is Mimi Iimuro van Ausdall, who spends most of her time with her twin 4-year-old. Sorry, I'm horrible at digital things. Just a second. Mimi Iimuro van Ausdall spends most of her time with her twin 4-year-olds and can now recognize most any My Little Pony character. She is working on 2 projects, a book of essays called Almost, essays from an almost Asian, almost lesbian, almost blind, almost mom, and a YA novel that follows 3 misfit teenagers who come together to take down a racist guard during their time at a Japanese American internment camp. Her work has been featured in Mother, Catapult, the Journal of Lesbian Studies, and elsewhere. And if you give me a short second, I will pin her video. Welcome, 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 Mimi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for just letting me drink your words. It's been just an incredible evening. One tiny thing, I just have to get it out there because I get shy. I have a lazy eye. I know a lot of you know that. So it like veers off, but I'm focusing. So it just looks like slightly weirdo. So I'm going to be reading an essay, a piece of creative nonfiction that's kind of trying a new tact of telling a personal narrative in the second person. It's called There Are Girls Like You in Japan. You stuff your bag into the overhead compartment. You sit down across the aisle from your mom, who has planned a trip to Japan, her homeland, in a last-ditch effort to gather and pull the thin string that held your small family together. There are girls like you in Japan, she says. You had come out to her maybe a year or 2 earlier, shortly after graduating from college. Just wait till I tell my brother, she shook her head in a, damn, I got a defective one way. You marked this as progress from her earlier responses, ranging from sobbing to donning a gold cross necklace. You're not Christian, you remember stating. I pray every day you will be changed, she said. You say nothing about Buddhism's underpinnings in the idea of change, that maybe she could change. You land in Narita. You breathe in the cool air, sensing the age of this land. You now understand why you don't quite fit in the United States. It is like a young, showy cult, fast and sloppy, while Japan is old and careful like an elephant. You've always been old. You feel like you are small in the long history of this place. You feel a sense of home for the first time, as if nothing you could experience could be something someone else had not already felt before you, again and again. You feel less lonely. You think this must be jet lag setting in. You accidentally get drunk on the first night at the beautiful dinner your aunt has made. They fill your cup so it always looks at the same level. You have no sense of how much you have drunk until the room grows distant and silly. You watch your uncle not eat as he enjoys watching his sister's family be in his home. You sleep on a mat and wake in the night. Your mother is up. She rarely sleeps more than a few hours each day. This has been so your whole life. You ask if she would come back to Japan if anything happened to your dad. She said she wouldn't fit anymore. You're near Tokyo. You spot some people who could be gay. You see other gaijin, foreigners, in the streets. One young American boy yells towards you or your sister in the street, "I haven't seen an ass like that since." You feel like you are sleepwalking, that nothing here is real. You wonder if your Japanese family understood what he said. You wonder if your dad heard. In America, you might have shouted back. In Japan, you look down and keep walking. You fight with your sister about how long she takes in the one bathroom to get ready. You are trying to be quiet about this given you are in your uncle's home. You are replaying a teenaged fight. You feel unseen by your mother and sister. This has always been the general queerness of you in relation to the two main women in your young life. You never quite fit. You should have been a boy, your mother often said when you were small, because you didn't primp, didn't enjoy shopping, and preferred working on the car with your dad. You are at a museum or maybe a train station. Your uncle says something to you that you can't understand. You ask your mom, who looks exhausted from constant translation. He said, "Mimi always looks so nice, very natural, and doesn't have to try." You tear up. How does this man, who you have met maybe 4 times in your life, see you better than your mom and sister? At the time, you curse your Americanness for being so unsophisticated about your feelings. The pain just oozes, ugly and glaring for anyone who is looking to see. Your father is snippy with your mother, but you enjoy this jet-lagged version of him, one who stands up for himself and even for you. Before the trip, you had approached him about your childhood and how you were mad at him for not defending you from verbal and emotional abuse. He admits you were your mom's verbal punching bag. It was the most uncomfortable conversation you have had with him, but you are glad you talked. You see his pain. His wife left her home for him. Her mom learned to write in Romanji just to send packages to her daughter in the US. Her parents had accepted him, an American, in the aftermath of World War II. His mother did not approve of the marriage to a Jap. His father, for the first and only time, threatened to divorce his mother if she did not come to the airport to meet the woman their son chose to marry. Your father stood by and will always stand by your mother. To stand by your mother, he must apparently betray you. You think about this while standing in line with your family. You don't remember what you were waiting for. You cry. You wonder if you were embarrassing your mom because that is how broken you are, she before you. Your uncle takes the whole family to visit the ancestors' graves. You pour water over the stones. You place fresh food to feed your dead. You joke about wasting good food, but you can't tell if the joke goes over well. Their emotions do not ooze in the same way yours do. Water over grandmother and grandfather, your grandfather, who your mother says you resemble like a samurai, and you feel so proud of this. There is another stone. Who is this, you ask your mom. She acts as if she doesn't hear. You wonder if you aren't supposed to talk during this ceremonial offering. You're never sure you're doing the right thing ever, and especially in Japan. Mom, who is this? You insist. She does not look up from the ground. I'll tell you later. You pour water over the stranger. Your mother's mom, you learn, had been married before she married your grandfather. You kick yourself for not being better at Japanese because the car is buzzing with paragraphs of conversation, followed by your mother's one-sentence summary. The relationship was abusive and your grandmother left. They had a daughter. She did not live with your mother for long. That daughter moved away. That daughter killed herself. That daughter lives beneath the other stone. You ask why she killed herself. No one knows, or no one is willing to say. Your grandmother felt so much guilt and grief that she slept with the urn of ashes for years. You immediately connect with this unknown, unnamed woman. You imagine she is who you would have been had you lived in Japan in the 1940s. You might imagine she loved women. You imagine she loved women and could not belong. You cry for her regardless of her reasons for leaving. Your grief surprises you. You wonder why all the lies further convince you she was queer in some way. A strong feminist, a lesbian, a transgender person, a neuroatypical person. You wish to know her. You thought she might get you, and the chance is lost. You cannot ask again. The window for secrets has been sealed and locked, the glass papered obscure. You know not to ask ever again. At the last family dinner of the trip, someone asks what your favorite part of the 10-day visit has been. Your sister says, just seeing everyone. And you want to be more specific, but say something dumb about liking going off with the cousins to an Italian restaurant without all the parents. It isn't a lie, but you couldn't say what you really felt, that you were so tense around your own mom that fun is not a word that applies to your relationship. You were constantly watched, evaluated, critiqued by her. You can't say that you can't believe your dead aunt has been unknown to you. She has been disappeared, and this makes you want to scream her unknown name in their faces. You wonder if she is just lucky to have a grave with the family given tradition. Some years later, you sit in the nook in your little attic, which is where I currently am, with its yellow walls and small square windows. The wind comes in cool around your bare arms and shoulders. You click on the Zoom link to enter a session with a shamanic practitioner about ancestral healings for Asian Americans. 6 faces, 6 Asian American and mostly queer faces, several biracial among them. You take a belly breath. You'll be fine, better than fine. You'll be safe. You are ready to connect with your ancestors, especially your aunt. Your gray cat stays purring until the drumming music begins. You take a deep, slow breath and call to mind your unknown aunt. You asked for entrance into the higher world. 10 Japanese men in work pants and long sleeve shirts arrive. They wear old straw hats. Farmers, they're farmers. Their smiles show in their eyes. They know who you are, though you can't place them. They pick you up and lift you to a next level. You ask for permission to enter. Then your body moves halfway up into the new level, and she is there. You can't quite see her, though you wouldn't know what she looks like, as you had never met, but your aunt is there. Tears stream down your face and your insides ache with pain, yours and hers. You open your mouth and she begins pulling the pain out of your body. It comes out like sickened hot dogs or long slimy intestines. It is not like vomiting. There's no discomfort. You are thankful, so thankful as she is pulling. When she is done, you are lighter. She wordlessly says, this pain does not have to be your pain. Even so, you don't want the memory of her to die in a pile of ancestral shame, of unhonorable suicide. She tells you her name. She is gay. She combs her white hair. She exists. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Lisa and Sherrie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you so much. This is such a beautiful night. Sherrie, you want to join me? I unpinned you, but the camera still likes
Thank
you.
you.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yes, that was so beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. It's been so good to see faces, to even just see names that are familiar and names that are new. Thank you to Donte, Carla-Elaine, Simi, Kira, and Mimi for sharing their work today. Can we get, I actually want people to take their mute off here and now make a little noise for the that read tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, we want to thank Hennepin County Library and Quatrefoil Library again for their support of this work, this important work of growing and becoming the queer writing series that we are off to be, and the timer, it's the timer, and the community, right, that we have potential to become. I feel really touched by the way that folks have showed up, even with all we're going through these days. We together are making our survival, our families, and our joy a lot more possible in this world. And so take sips of breath when you can. Take care of yourselves as you float through these next few weeks, especially if you're here in Minnesota and Minneapolis, especially. We know this place holds a lot and is likely to hold more as the weeks continue. Yeah. Sherrie, do you mind saying a little bit about the contact list and the...
Yeah, so
for you.
yeah, so we have been meeting every other Saturday, and I'm going to put the Google Doc in the chat. If you're interested in joining us, you can fill out that Google Doc, and then we'll have your email address, your contact information. Many of the readers that read tonight have been joining us on those Saturdays. Our next one is July 3rd. So, you know, feel free to join us. There's the Google Doc. You can take it and save it, plop it in your calendar on July, for July 3rd. It was wonderful to hear all of your voices and to, again, as Lisa said, see faces and names and people that are amazing and I love. So good to see all of you.